Hello and welcome back to the Delve podcast. Today we're talking about working with a therapist who's an intern. What does that mean exactly? Um, we have a lot of thoughts and we'll get into it on this pod. I'm Allie. I'm a staff therapist here at Delve Psychotherapy of Chicago.
And I'm Adam. I'm the executive and clinical director at Delve Psychotherapy of Chicago. Also, for the purposes of this intro, I also designed, run, and administer the training program at Delve Psychotherapy of Chicago, including teaching our interns how to be therapists.
Yeah. With this podcast, we're not trying for fame here. We don't plan to run any ads, so it's very listener friendly for you all. We just want to add value and be helpful to as many people as possible. So, because of that, we do ask that you share this podcast. If you've shared it with one person already, share it with another person. Word of mouth is really what we're relying on here, so it'd be very, very helpful. Here at Delve Psych, we offer individuals, couple, group, and family therapy. So if you're interested in a free consultation call, head on over to delvepsych.com. That's DELVEPSYCH.com. And we also have a blog on Substack at delvepsych.substack.com.
Thank you so much, Allie. Great overview.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. So, say a client comes to a practice, they want therapy, and they are matched with a clinician who says that they're an intern right now. They're not licensed yet. Maybe they haven't graduated yet. So what does that mean? And yeah.
Yeah, well, we should talk about this, like what is going on with respect to why this happens and where these people are coming from. So an intern or practicum student, sometimes we call them externs as well, will be still in school in a graduate program, usually in counseling or clinical psychology. It could be counseling psychology, could be licensed marriage and family therapy program, or a social work program. But they'll be in school actively and working toward their degree. So they're not licensed. And typically, although this is changing a little bit, typically they're not paid either. So it's not like this is a jobby job for them. This is very similar to the model in medicine, which again, psychology came from psychiatry, came from medicine. So we follow the same kind of general trends, where essentially you work under the supervision of others for a little while. It's almost an apprenticeship model, except that you'll have multiple sites usually throughout your training experience. For master's level clinicians, they might only have one site. For doctoral level clinicians, they might be doing this for years upon years upon years. I think in my training, I ended up doing a neuropsych practicum in my master's program, followed by 3 counseling or like mental health, I guess like psychotherapy practica that were like full length practica. And then I still did a supplemental one after that. So what am I up to there? Those 4.5 roughly, because I just wanted to supplement my experience a little bit. So sometimes when you're working with a air quotes intern therapist, you're actually dealing with somebody who's got hundreds of hours of experience. Not always. Sometimes they're at hour 0, and sometimes they've. I know that at some point, I had a consult call with a client who turned down working with one of our therapists because they were an intern, and picked a therapist who actually had less experience but was licensed. Because the intern had already been doing this for years. They just hadn't graduated yet. They'd had hundreds of hours of experience. So,
how interesting.
yeah. So, I mean, there's a little bit of just kind of like some biases with respect to like, well, I don't want to work with a student. They won't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I have my master's. I don't have a PhD in this. So my site was Delve. That was my one site. And it was great. Great experience. And Yeah, I think there is that sort of stigma with working with an intern. And what I will say is behind the scenes, people may not know that interns, they're required to have a lot of supervision, a lot of supervision.
Yeah, Delve is a little unique because we kind of go overboard with the supervision, but why don't you talk a little bit about what it maybe looked like for some of your colleagues in your master's program? What kind of supervision were they getting?
Yeah, so we had group supervision through my school. So there was a professor at my school. Once every week, a group of us students in my group, there was maybe like 8 to 10. So it was kind of a small group. But once a week, we would meet with this professor and talk about what was coming up in session and what we were struggling with and like some stuck points and kind of like uh, brainstorming with each other, like how we can tackle some of these problems. And so I did that. And then with Delve, so yes, Delve has extra supervision, but for all of my people in my cohort, they all also had individual supervisors at their site, at their placement site, who they would also meet with once a week. So you're getting individual supervision with someone at your site once a week. You're also getting group supervision with the school professor once a week. Then with Delve, I also had group supervision once a week. And then I also had supplemental supervision with another person from Delve. So there's so much support. There's so many minds and brains working on each of these cases. And so I don't want clients to think that this intern that they're working with is just like, it's just them. And it's, especially if it's like a newer intern who hasn't been doing this for several hours of work, like there's still so many minds and brains like working to help behind the scenes. Yeah, so you're getting better care than you think, I promise you.
Right. Yeah. At the end of the day, the individual who's licensed is ultimately responsible for guiding and directing care. And that person should be meeting with their intern for at least an hour every week. I think that's a standard across all states. So at bare minimum, we ought to have at least 2 hours happening here
At
somewhere.
least.
I do know that at some sites that's not happening. I do know that that's a sad reality of the situation. There's a few reasons why that happens. I think by and large, in the world of counseling, psychotherapy, and psychology, I think the training structures are kind of broken. The sad truth is that there is not that much of a financial incentive to a group practice, for instance, to try to have interns. And we would imagine that this would be something of a cash cow because I don't have to pay this person at all.
Yeah.
But very often, because of the stigma against working with interns, it's very hard to fill these caseloads. And then if I think about, let's say my intern has 3 clients all at low sliding scale, I'm still going to have to meet with them for an hour. I would almost certainly make more money if I just sat with a client for an hour and billed their insurance.
Oh, yeah.
So even if they've got 3, 4, 5 clients, it probably takes about 5 to get to the point where, if those are all sliding scale clients, to get back to the point where it's maybe lucrative. And then you think about all the additional liabilities associated with it. And then if you offer any additional supervision of any kind, then you very quickly realize that this is not a way to make money.
So I have a question for you. Because there's all
Uh-huh.
these liabilities and it's not lucrative in making money, and it can maybe a pain in the butt sometimes to take on student interns. Why do you do it?
I primarily run the program with Andrea. Typically, Andrea's kind of taken a year off right now, but typically Andrea and I run it together. She's been on the podcast before. It's in our blood. We've talked about what training needed to be to really be effective for people. We've talked about what we think is required to actually get people to where they need to be and what it should look like for people. And for both of us, we just said, this is a passion project for us. So typically speaking, if I'm talking just the intern part of the training program, I think it's lost money every year. Especially if I kind of like compare the hours that I put into it. If I were seeing clients instead, I'd definitely make more money seeing clients. But
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I care so much about investing in these students. And again, we go overboard. So because I want to do this right, I really want to train students as best I possibly can. They tend to have smaller caseloads, sometimes much to their chagrin, but typically have smaller caseloads. So they've got more focus on fewer clients. And then we pour hours of support into them. I have an intern right now. On Tuesdays, I think I spend somewhere around like 3.5 hours with them just on one day. I have individual supervision with them for an hour. They come to group supervision, which is the whole team, for an hour. They usually join me for what we started doing last year is like co-therapy. So I'm doing therapy with a client who's agreed to allow the student to come along, and they do therapy with me.
Mhm.
Actually, it's more than that because then I co-facilitate a group with them.
Yeah.
So let me see. I'm already at 3 hours. Add group is 4.5. And then we usually meet for at least a little while after group to kind of process what's happening. This poor student spends upwards of 4 or 5 hours with me on one day. And then I always do didactics later in the week. You are supplementally supervising that student right now. I mean, this student's got 6-ish hours of contact with somebody who's done this before every week. Nobody else is doing that. Nobody else in the world of training is giving that many hours, as far as
Yeah.
I'm aware.
Well, I didn't even mention didactics, that at Delve you have a whole other like training program of just like teaching, and a lot of sites don't even do that. They
Yeah,
just,
they're supposed to.
yeah. I you know, it is unfortunately true that some of my fellow students in my cohort, they would come into group supervision and say things like, I've been having a really hard time getting a hold of my supervisor.
That's not ideal, but there's a financial reality to that. Those supervisors should not be doing that, and I hate that those students are in that situation, and it's unethical and maybe illegal to be doing that to the clients when that's the case. But at the same time, if we've got an entire system where there is no financial value to this program, then the supervisor themselves is a little stuck. It's like all of this time that I spend with this student is just money out the door. And it's not like psychotherapy is a lucrative business. Like there are a lot of people with master's degrees in counseling who are saying, I think I'm going to go 10 bar because it's just more, I can make more money.
Yeah.
When you look at the financial realities of psychotherapy and counseling these days, it's pretty devastating. And we've found ways to kind of like eke out little advantages here and there. But even then, it's not just a cakewalk for everybody. And it takes time. It takes a lot of time to build a kind of security that you need. So, and not everybody's learned all the lessons either. So you have a newer supervisor who's just trying to figure out if this is a way that they can solidify their cash flow, as well as they do care typically. But then the realities of the situation are they need 25 clients to be able to keep themselves afloat. And
Right.
now this intern needs all this care and support. And the reality is that it just doesn't go. This is my cue to talk about a bill that just got passed in Illinois that Delve spent a lot of time working on, that actually mandates into law that for covered plans, for plans that are covered by, that are regulated by the state of Illinois, not including Medicaid, not including Medicare, not including municipal plans, and not including the state employee health plans. So there's a lot of exclusions, but for those
Okay.
plans that are covered under the law, those specific plans have to reimburse for care that is provided by a student. They have to, like the insurance company has to pay. Same as they do in medicine, by the way. If you go in to see the doctor, you might end up meeting with their, their resident, and their resident's the one that actually like stabs you in the lung with a needle. So
No.
sorry for the image.
Oh.
But then who's billing it? It's the supervisor. And so we at least for these covered plans, that's now codified into law that they must be covered. That needs to be the standard at a federal level. That needs to be a standard at a state level, or you cannot get enough money into the field to really support these students the way that they need to be supported.
Yeah.
And so unless you have somebody like myself and Andrea who are just passionate about it and decide like we're going to take the L here on purpose, then that's what it's going to be.
I really, really appreciate you giving back in that way, because you could have easily been like, well, I'm through all my training. Like I've got my license. I want to make as much money as I can. See ya. Good luck.
Yeah. But it keeps me alive as well. It keeps me active. It keeps me thinking. And I want to talk a little bit about the stigma around the quality of the therapists as well, the interns themselves.
Yeah.
Because I do think that there is a short period of time at the beginning of the year, especially, which usually starts around August or September. So if you start working with an intern in August or September, my guidance to you is be patient and give them time. 1, they're probably smart. 2, they're probably empathic. And 3, they're probably scared. So give them a minute. Give them a minute to catch up. It's a little bit slower at the start as a student gets started. And the other thing that Delve does is we try to pick students who have 0 hours of experience ever. When they walk into their first Delve session, it is the first time that they are ever doing therapy at all, period. I believe that was the case for you, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yep. Day 0, no experience. Hi, I'm here to help you. What the hell is that?
Yeah.
You want to talk about what that experience was like?
God, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that I don't know that I like specifically recall my first session. Maybe a good thing that it wasn't like it didn't go up in flames so bad that I remember that it was. But I think in general, it's scary to sit in front of somebody and feel like their care is in your hands. And I knew I had the support of you and the whole team behind me, really, but like yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and you didn't know me that well at that point, right? So you don't even know the degree of safety you have.
Yeah, it's like you go through school and you do all these like mock role plays at school and you read all the textbooks and stuff, but it really, until you're actually like sitting in front of a real client, that's where really like, I mean, most of my like actual learning about how to do this work is like actually like sitting in front of the client. And
right.
Yeah. So yes, especially if you're starting with an intern in those, August, September months, be patient.
It takes them a second. But what's great about an intern, especially at the beginning of the year, is there is so much drive and motivation. Like when I leave a session, I'll think about you next week most of the time. Like, I mean, love you though I do and care about you though I do. Unless there's something really significant that happened in that session, chances are I'll see you next week. And that's the next time that client's going to come to mind. I'm sorry for any of my clients that are listening. But like, I got a lot of clients. I got a lot going on. And that's just the reality of the situation. But these students have, like, this is the thing. They have moved mountains, sometimes moved themselves across the country or the world even to do this thing. And now this is their first opportunity to do it. The intensity of focus that so many students bring to bear on those first several months is kind of incredible. Like when you leave session, they think about you all week, and they're thinking like, who can I talk to get a better feel for how to do this? What guide? Like they come to usually supervision ready to be like, I got stuck. How do I get through this? Give me ideas. Give me fuel. Like fuel this growth in me, and the drive and motivation to figure it out is massive in those first several months. It's just slower. Like if a client throws me a curveball in session, the vast majority of the time, I'm going to be able to find my way to some kind of useful answer in, I don't know, 30 seconds, 5 minutes. Maybe I need to buy some time, ask some questions, think about it, and I get it 15, 20 minutes later, something like that. But like rarely am I going to walk out of a session being like, I don't know what the hell to do with that. Because at this point, I've just got enough experience where it's like I've seen a lot of these things or something like it before. The
Right.
student might just need to draw that out. They might need to think about it for a week. They might need to talk to their supervisor first. They might need to take a second crack at it. This is one of the bits of guidance I give my students all the time is if you get stuck in session, say, hey, I'm going to think about this one. I think I'm going to have an answer for you next week, but I'm going to work on this, right? Like, let's normalize that we got to stretch this out just a little bit to give them the opportunity to say, like, okay, here's the problem. How do I solve it? That doesn't have to be as immediate as I can do now in my career.
Yeah. So I think with all this being said, because I could see someone being like, okay, so why would I go see someone who's going to like need more time and it's going to take longer to like figure out what's going on with me? You just outlined, hey, there's so much care going towards you and thought like this student is like really thinking about your case and conceptualizing it and ask the consulting and, you know, spending so much time in all these hours of supervision. And then the second piece that we haven't really talked about yet is what's nice about working with an intern, especially if money is a source of stress for you, can be really cheap.
It's very, very
intern.
inexpensive. Yeah. And at Delve, we offer some pro bono sessions too. So, I mean, again, this isn't a moneymaker for us. So it's just we're trying to provide care to the community and help students grow. But in addition to that, I think that we have a tendency to minimize the value of a fresh young mind. And for whatever reason, I've never fallen prey to that. I think that the students that are coming through these programs are brilliant, and I think they've got great ideas, and I think they are on the edge of new thoughts, both philosophically and socio-systemically. I think in the current generation, the deconstructivism that's happening across the board is so fucking valuable. And if you think about some of the biggest movements ever in history, you think about the civil rights movement, you think about many other movements throughout time, a lot of times it's people in their 20s. It's just like active, motivated people in their 20s. And here we are having kind of like pushed them into the academic system, told them that they don't know anything and that they need to learn from the geezers, and minimize their kind of like their mental kind of acumen. But I will say almost every year, right around now, and it happened for me this week already, you see them kind of like figure out the pacing, figure out the rules, then figure out the equanimity, which is about like the kind of like, how do I manage my own emotions through this? Start to get a little bit of confidence, and then they start cooking. And I had occasion with both of our interns this week where whereas previously I might have had to push them to unmute and say something in a group therapy or co-therapy session. Now they're just doing it. And then the thing they say, I'm like, fuck, I wouldn't have thought of that.
There you go.
It's 4 months in. We're 4 months in and they're saying stuff that I ain't think of.
I really love that framing. Yeah, like the young minds are really the ones that like push forward the new novel ideas, and I think that there's real value in that. I think unfortunately even though it's not the type of therapist that you are or any at our practice or the type of therapist I want to be. But I could see seasoned therapists just sort of resting on their laurels. Like, yeah, I'm just getting X amount of money from sitting with this client for an hour, and I'm just going to do like the least amount of work possible, get in my bag, and go on to the next client.
Yeah.
Sad, but I feel like I've worked with therapists in the past when I was a client that gave off that sort of energy. So, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's twofold. One, I think that as individual clinicians, we have to push ourselves to keep growing, keep learning, keep staying engaged. Will you dip? Sure. Will you get exhausted? Yeah. But there's a reason why burnout is so rampant in this industry. It's hard work. I mean, like, truly, if I'm to do this job correctly, then all day, every day that I work, I should not lose focus at all. Because what if the moment that I lose focus is the moment that they say, yeah, so actually I found out that I had a sister, and all I heard was sister, and I didn't remember what their siblings said, and like, and we just keep going. So like, to truly do it well, you need that level of focus at all moments in time. That's fucking impossible.
It is.
Nobody can do
have
that.
Level of stamina if you have several clients in one day back to back to back. It's near impossible.
And a trick that I learned years ago, because I will lose focus from time to time, especially if I know that I'm in a low focus kind of day, like I'm just exhausted or tired or whatever else, I'll just write down almost like the key words that they're saying all the way through, even if I'm not thinking about it. They say, just found out. You'll see in my notes it says just found out, and then a little while later it'll say sister, and then it'll say don't know what to do. Like, just, and I'm not thinking as I'm necessarily writing these, because I know that I don't quite have my focus, but those little stems can kind of like coalesce into clarity for like, what is the general theme of the session. Then my ideas can kind of start to come in there, and over time, throughout the session, just having those little stems, you'll know what question to ask, you'll know how it connects to other things, you can put it into a cohesive kind of thread and then deliver. I found that really helpful for the lower focus kind of days. But I mean, there are days when I leave this just like, my brain is mush, right?
Yeah.
And my brain don't mush easy. So it's a lot. And so no wonder they're so exhausted.
I think we underestimate the level of energy it takes to be like present in front of someone, actively listening, because our brains are constantly moving when the client is talking, and to figure out what to say and say that in a way that like is distinct and clear and profound, maybe in some ways.
Yeah.
It takes a lot out of you. Like, it really does.
Yeah. There are days I walk away and I'm just sort of like, all right, well, I'm going to collapse into the couch and do nothing else for the rest of
The night, yeah.
the night, like, there's not, and if you get caught in that over and over and over again, then there's your burnout. So, and these are often the supervisors, the clinicians, it's hard. But I think that having people around helps me a lot. I think having students around to keep me engaged is really important, and to give me new thoughts and ideas. But we were always trying to do something to just keep the kind of conscious thought moving as best we can.
Yeah.
I will also add, with respect to the training program that we run here, a thing that we do at the end of the year to really honor the fact that I don't think I'm an expert more than these students are experts. I think I've got more time doing it, and I think I've got insights that can help them. But I also think they have insights that can help me. One of the things that we do every year is we have the students give a didactic at the end of the year, often on like a session throughout the year where they tried something a little bit different, or they had a unique kind of perspective on something. And I will say some of the best ideas, some of the kind of like most inspiring ideas have come out of those didactics, where a student is sort of like, all right, I got something to say. Now they've been working with us for a year. Now they're confident. Now they're kind of like, they've got their feet under them. They kind of have a sense of their own vision for things. And you get a student near the end of the year, very often they are highly effective and they got shit to say because they're
Yeah.
smart and empathic.
Yeah. I loved presenting last year and hearing all the other interns do their presentations. I loved it. I loved us getting like our moment and seeing the confidence, how it grew from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's really cool.
Confidence is the biggest enemy, I think, for a lot of the interns. It's the hardest thing in all of it is getting to the point where you believe in yourself. But also not too much, right? Like, because you need that humility. I've seen that go the other way.
Oh boy, I could see how that could go south real quick. But yeah, you need that humility to be like, no, I don't know everything. I still want to learn. I'm still curious. I'm still eager and hungry. But yeah, I think a lot of interns are really smart, are really capable. It's just the confidence piece. It's just that piece that holds them back from speaking. So I think to sum up today's conversation, if you find yourself working with an intern for your therapist, there can be real great advantages to that. One, there's many minds working on your case behind the scenes. This student is likely actively thinking about you all week because they have a smaller caseload of clients and they're really eager to learn and do better. Two, you could work with a student for probably very cheap, if not pro bono. And three, like, don't discount the younger, fresher minds.
Yeah. Yeah, just as you were talking about that too, I was thinking about the fact that I can remember specific things that the two interns we have right now have said this year. I don't think, one, I never would have come up with. Two, I don't think any of our staff members ever would have said. Three, I don't think any of our previous students would have ever said. Four, I don't think any of the colleagues that I ever worked with in any of those settings I described ever would have come up with in quite that way. Like, there is a very particular intellect and perspective they bring to the table. And it just takes them a little time to be able to unlock that. But when they do, watch out.
Watch out. I love it. I love it. All right. New quote. Avoidance of an inevitability is futile. I mean, yeah, if something inevitably going to happen, then avoidance of it is just a lot of time and energy wasted.
Yeah.
I guess I'm wondering what. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we love to do that, don't we?
Yeah, I'm wondering if you have in mind I'm wondering if you have an inevitability in mind with this quote.
Not necessarily. I mean,
Okay.
I think it kind of goes hand in hand with the idea of like, just do the fucking thing from a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
If you know that such and such a thing is going to happen, there is something of a kind of like stopping your life, or this aspect of your life that comes with declining to make the move, declining to do the thing. And there is a lot of value, I think, to trying to interpret the degree to which it is inevitable. Whatever the thing is inevitable. It's going to happen. If it's going to happen, what is the value of this avoidance? Well, I'm not ready yet. Who said you need to be ready? And what does delaying accomplish? Maybe there is a value. I'm not sure. But I think of avoidance as truly being this kind of like, I'm just trying to get out of it, but you can't get out of it. So get in it.
Yeah, just do the dang thing.
That's not the quote.
That's my version of the quote. Always a good time. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Delve Podcast. As always, if you're interested in a free consultation call with one of our clinicians, head on over to delvepsych.com. That's DELVEPSYCH.com. And do check out our blog on Substack at delvepsych.substack.com. We'll see you next week.
Thank you so much, Allie.
Thanks, Adam.